Chapter 25 Vulcan Art and Weaponry. You are listening at thousand-fold.Audio. This Vulcan Jue is the most suitable for me. I will practice Vulcan Jue first. After briefly browsing the 370 jade slips of 2 exercises, Feng chose an exercise called Vulcan Art. Vulcan Judgment is divided into 9 levels, corresponding to the 9 realms of Mana Realm, Yin and Yang Mirror, Heaven and Man Realm, Supernatural Power Realm, Golden Alchemy Realm, Xuanhuan Realm, Xuanhuan Realm, Law Realm, and Dongtian Realm. There are 370 copies. One of the 5 top-level exercises. Among the exercises, Feng awakened the talent of the high-level flame blood, obtained the genetic flame inheritance, and practiced the fire attribute skills with twice the result with half the effort and the highest efficiency. Therefore, after careful consideration, Feng chose Vulcan Jue as his practice method. After making a decision in his heart, Feng did not hesitate at all, and immediately studied the first layer of Vulcan Jue exercises carefully. After Feng thoroughly studied the first-level exercises of Vulcan Jue, he began to practice according to the first-level exercises of Vulcan Jue. Ding! You have practiced Vulcan Art once, and the effect of the practice will be returned 10,000 times, and you have increased 10,000 strands of mana. When Feng ran Vulcan Jue once, absorbed a lot of spiritual energy between heaven and earth, and condensed a ray of magic power in the sea of consciousness, a clear reminder sounded in his ears. Immediately afterwards, wisps of mana appeared out of nowhere in Feng's sea of consciousness, greatly increasing the mana reserves in his sea of consciousness. The effect of cultivating 10,000 times the return is too obvious and too powerful. Feeling that strands of mana surged in the sea of consciousness, a look of excitement flashed in Feng's eyes, and he couldn't help exclaiming with emotion. His face was full of excitement and anticipation. After a while of emotion, Feng calmed down and continued to practice the Vulcan Jue exercises, absorbing the aura of heaven and earth, and condensing mana. Ding! You have practiced Vulcan Art once, and the effect of the practice will be returned 10,000 times, and you have increased 10,000 strands of mana. Ding! You have practiced Vulcan Art once, and the effect of the practice will be returned 10,000 times, and you have increased 10,000 strands of mana. As Feng practiced, a series of clear reminders kept ringing in his ears, forcing him to turn off the reminders and concentrate on practicing Vulcan Art. There is no time to practice, and a week has passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, Feng opened his closed eyes, felt the surging magic power in the sea of consciousness, and muttered softly. The mana of the sea of consciousness in my body has increased a lot, far exceeding that of ordinary monks at the peak of mana. It's time to go out and look for blood spirit grass and get more blood spirit grass. After all, you can practice at any time, but the blood spirit grass can only be obtained in the blood spirit secret realm. If you miss this period, it will be difficult to obtain the blood spirit grass again. However, before that, I can refine some treasures to increase my own strength and combat power. After muttering, Feng threw his spiritual consciousness into the Dongtian pearl, checked the treasures in it, and found the treasure that suits him. In the Tianwu continent, the weapons of monks are divided into 5 grades: magical weapons, spiritual weapons, treasure weapons, Taoist weapons, and fairy weapons. Each level is divided into 4 levels: low grade, middle grade, high grade, and extreme grade. There are 20 weapons in total. Levels. Among them, the magic weapon is of the lowest level, with only a few runes engraved on it, which can withstand the mana of monks and increase the power of various spells. It is generally used by monks in the Mana Realm and Yin and Yang Mirror. The level of the spiritual weapon is slightly higher than that of the magic weapon. It not only depicts many runes, but also has a little spirituality. It can be manipulated with a little spiritual consciousness, and its power is extremely powerful. It can be refined, and it is extremely precious, and generally only monks above the level of heaven and man can use it. A treasure is the treasure of a weapon. It not only depicts countless runes, but also forms various large formations with the runes. The power is extremely terrifying. A monk only needs to activate the large formation on the treasure to activate the treasure. Exerting a terrifying power, only masters who have comprehended the profound meaning of various runes and can form countless runes into various formations can refine treasures. Therefore, the price of treasures is extremely high, and generally only Jindan monks and above can afford it. The Taoist weapon is a treasure that attains the Tao. It has extremely strong spirituality, and was born with spiritual wisdom. There is a weapon spirit, and it has experienced the baptism of thunder, and has comprehended one or more laws and profound meanings. Comparable to or even surpassing monks of the same level, extremely powerful, because the Tao weapon needs to go through the baptism of thunder and comprehend the power of law. Only masters of the law realm and above can refine it. The price is extremely precious, and generally only monks of the law realm and above can use it. At the same time, because of the existence of the spirit of the Taoist, if you want to refine the Taoist, you must obtain the approval of the spirit. There are two ways to obtain the approval of Xueling. One is to suppress Xueling with absolute strength and make Xueling surrender. One is to have the qualifications against the sky, let Xueling recognize it, and take the initiative to recognize the master. There are many Taoist artifacts sealed by Wei Yong in Dongtian, but Yang Feng knows that his strength is low, his talent is not very heaven-defying, and he is not fully sure that he will be recognized by the spirit of Taoist artifacts. Therefore, Yang Feng directly gave up the Tao artifacts and prepared to refine some treasure artifacts for use. In addition to the reason that his own talent may not be recognized by the spirit of the weapon, Yang Feng's own strength is too weak, and the use of treasure tools is already very high profile. If he uses Tao tools again, it is easy to be targeted by some strong people. After all, you, a genius disciple of Xuanhuan, can use some treasures, which is justified. It is impossible for those powerful monks to offend Xuanhuan and become an enemy of Xuanhuan for some treasures, but for you, a genius disciple of Xuanhuan, to use a Taoist weapon that even a cultivator in the law realm might not be able to use, that would be too much. Some casual cultivators in the law realm and even the cave heaven realm must be like flies, staring at you relentlessly, and will kill you whenever they have the chance, snatch the Taoist artifact in your hand, and run away. After all, compared with obtaining a Tao artifact, offending Xuanhuan and becoming an enemy of Xuanhuan is not a big deal at all. You know, Xiantian sect is only one of the 5 major forces in Xiantian domain. The Xiantian domain is only one of the 81 domains in Dongzhou. The Tianwu continent has 5 major states in the east, west, north, south, and middle. As long as he leaves Xiantian domain, Xuanhuan will be beyond his reach. Soon, Yang Feng selected 3 treasures from among the large number of treasures. These 3 treasures are the Soul Requiem Bell of the top grade, the Xianjin Armor of the top grade, and the Fire Crow Sword of the bottom grade. The Requiem Bell is an extremely precious and rare soul weapon. It can not only protect the soul and prevent the enemy's soul from attacking, but also release the sound of the Requiem Bell to attack the enemy's soul. It is very powerful. With the Soul Requiem Bell, Yang Feng doesn't have to worry about the enemy's soul attack. At the same time, at critical times, Yang Feng can also use the soul attack ability of the Soul Requiem Bell to carry out large-scale and indiscriminate soul attacks on the enemy, destroying a large number of enemies in one fell swoop. The Xianjin Armor is a top-grade treasure that focuses on defense. It can resist the enemy's physical and mana attacks, and weaken the enemy's attack by more than %. It is almost impossible for a monk below the law to break through the defense of the Xianjin Armor. With Xianjin Jue, the ultimate defensive weapon, Yang Feng's life-saving ability will be greatly enhanced. As long as he pays attention to it, he will not be afraid of the enemy's attack at all, and it will be difficult to die. A large fire crow formation is depicted on the fire crow sword. After the fire crow formation is activated, a maximum of 100 million fire crows can be released to form a large-scale fire crow formation and burn the enemy into ashes. Of course, the size of the fire crow formation can be controlled. To deal with slightly weaker enemies, the size of the fire crows can be controlled at an appropriate number of 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, etc. The soul-suppressing bell is usually hidden in Yang Feng's sea of consciousness, and will never be revealed until the critical moment. The Xianjin Jue usually hides in Yang Feng's flesh and blood, and if Yang Feng does not encounter an extremely powerful attack, the Xian Jinjia will generally not show up, only the Fire Crow's sword was used as an offensive weapon, and Yang Feng used it frequently, so it was easy to be exposed to the eyes of outsiders. Although the Fire Crow's sword is powerful, it is only a low-grade treasure. It is very suitable to use it as a genius disciple of Yang Feng Xuantianzong. Although it is a little high profile, it will not attract the prying eyes of the strong. After choosing a suitable treasure, Yang Feng mobilized the mana in his body and began to refine the three treasures, the Soul Requiem Bell, the Black Gold Armor, and the Fire Crow Sword. Chapter 26. You are listening at thousand-fold.Audio. You can go out and look for Blood Spirit Grass. After refining the Soul Requiem Bell, Xianjin Armor, and Fire Crow Sword, Yang Feng muttered softly, "Put the Soul Requiem Bell into the Sea of Consciousness, put the Xianjin Armor into the flesh and blood," and then walked out of the natural cave with the Fire Crow Sword in hand up. The ferocious beasts deep in the mountains are getting stronger and stronger, and the number of Blood Spirit Grass is also increasing, and the quality is getting higher and higher. With my current strength, I can venture into the depths of the mountains. Suspended above the valley, looking at the lush and rocky mountains in the distance, Yang Feng whispered to himself, and with a movement of his body, he used the sword control technique, stepped on the Fire Crow Sword, and galloped away to the depths of the mountains. There is Blood Spirit Grass 3,000 meters ahead on the right. That when the Blood Spirit ring on his left wrist released a series of clear reminders, Yang Feng glanced at the arrow deacon on the Blood Spirit ring, chuckled, stepped on the Fire Crow Sword, and flew towards the place where the Blood Spirit Grass was up. Soon, a piece of Blood Spirit Grass entered Yang Feng's sense of consciousness. At the same time, the herd of more than 1,000 ferocious beasts also entered Yang Feng's sense of consciousness. Roar, roar, roar. Looking at Yang Feng floating in the sky, the 3/4 order ferocious beasts let out angry roars one after another. When they moved, they turned into 3 beams of light and rushed straight at Yang Feng. In the process of rushing towards Yang Feng, the mouths of the 3/4 order ferocious beasts opened slightly, and they spit out 3 scorching fireballs, bombarding Yang Feng's body, trying to kill Yang Feng on the spot. Facing the attack of the 3 scorching fireballs, Yang Feng's expression remained unchanged, and with a thought, the Fire Crow technique was cast, and each 1-foot-long fire crows condensed into the void. Go with. Following Yang Feng's soft shout, the 3 fire crows greeted the 3 fireballs, and met them in midair. There was a violent collision and explosion sound, which turned into little flames and disappeared invisible, and dozens of other fire crows, with a scorching flame breath, ruthlessly bombarded the 3/4 order beasts and exploded. The terrifying explosive power directly blasted the 3/4 order beasts into pieces, sending them to the ground. Falling down below, immediately afterwards, Yang Feng waved his big hand, and hot rockets condensed in the void, shooting towards the more than 1,000 ferocious beasts with terrifying power. Boom! 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 Amidst the clear and crisp sounds, one after another of the ferocious beasts were pierced through their bodies by one after another of hot rockets, and died tragically on the spot, becoming charred corpses. In a short time, more than 1,000 beasts were killed by the rockets. At this time, Yang Feng moved and landed in front of a piece of Blood Spirit Grass, and began to pick Blood Spirit Grass, and put it into the space ring. After picking more than 1,000 Blood Spirit Grasses, Yang Feng rose into the air with a single movement, and went to explore other places. 5th Order Ferocious Saber-Toothed Tiger. Looking at the huge mountain in front of the saber-toothed tiger exuding powerful mana fluctuations, Yang Feng's eyes brightened, and he muttered softly. Amidst the mutterings, Yang Feng stepped on the Fire Crow Sword and flew towards the mountain where the 5th Order Beast Saber-Toothed Tiger was located. 1 millennium Blood Spirit Grass, 4,600 years Blood Spirit Grass, 520 Blood Spirit Grass less than 100 years old. All of these Blood Spirit Grass belong to me. After coming to the top of the saber-toothed tiger's mountain, the Blood Spirit Grass guarded by the saber-toothed tiger entered Yang Feng's sense of consciousness, making his eyes light up, and he said to himself with a smile on his face, "Roar, roar, roar." While Yang Feng was talking to himself, the 5th Order Ferocious Saber-Toothed Tiger let out an extremely angry roar, and as soon as its body moved, it turned into a stream of light and rushed straight towards Yang Feng. At the same time, the fifth order ferocious saber-toothed tiger surged with mana, and each of its huge tiger claws was condensed in the void. With terrifying power and sharp edges, it grabbed Yang Feng's body, and wanted to kill Yang Feng. Torn to shreds, seeing this scene, Yang Feng's expression remained unchanged, and with a soft drink, the fire crow's sword under his feet flashed, turning into a stream of light, and went straight to meet the huge tiger claws, crushing them easily, turning them into a little bit of light disappears into nothingness. Immediately afterwards, under Yang Feng's urging, the fire crow's sword streaked across a stream of fiery red light, and stabbed straight at the head of the fifth order ferocious saber-toothed tiger. Sensing the terrifying power contained in the fire crow sword, a frightened look flashed in the eyes of the fifth order ferocious saber-toothed tiger, and immediately stimulated the mana in its body to condense a golden shield to protect its body. Boom! With a crisp sound, the fire crow sword easily broke through the golden protective cover, and pierced through the head of the fifth-level beast saber-toothed tiger with undiminished force, causing blood to splatter, causing it to die tragically on the spot, and then fell downwards. At this time, Yang Feng had a thought, and a strong wind appeared, rolled up the saber-toothed tiger's body, and sent it into the Dongtian pearl. After that, Yang Feng flew down beside the blood spirit grass, began to pick the blood spirit grass, and put it into the space ring. Soon, Yang Feng picked hundreds of blood spirit grasses, soared into the sky, turned into a stream of light, and flew away into the distance. There are fighting sounds ahead. Yang Feng, who was flying in the sky, heard the sound of fierce fighting not far away, muttered softly, and flew towards the place where the sound of fighting was. Soon, Yang Feng flew to the halfway up a mountain, and saw more than a dozen outer disciples of the puppet sect, manipulating more than 10 battle puppets of the Guxiu realm, besieging 6 outer disciples of the Xuanhuan sect. Brother Yang, help! Seeing Yang Feng floating in the sky, the 6 outer sect disciples of the Xuanhuan sect who were besieging were overjoyed and immediately called for help. Before the Xuantianzong outer sect disciples entered the blood spirit secret realm, they had already had a detailed understanding of the personnel on the Xuantianzong outer sect elite ranking list, and they were very familiar with the personnel on the Xuantianzong outer sect elite ranking list, and as Xuantianzong's recently famous outer sect genius, Yang Feng, who has the strength and combat effectiveness of the top 10 outer sect elite rankings, has attracted the attention of all the outer sect disciples of Xuantianzong. Therefore, the moment they saw Yang Feng, the 6 Xuantian sect outer disciples recognized Yang Feng's identity and cried out for help. At this time, more than 10 outer disciples of the puppet sect also realized that something was wrong, and threw away the more than 10 combat puppets, turned around and fled to the distance, fearing that if they moved slower, they would be killed by Yang Feng. However, although their movements were not slow, Yang Feng's movements were faster. As soon as they ran more than 10 meters, they were hit by more than 10 fire crows gathered by Yang Feng, turning into charred corpses. Once more than a dozen disciples of the puppet sect died. The battle puppets they controlled also stood still in place because they lost control, and stopped attacking the 6 disciples of the Xuantian sect. Thank you senior brother Yang for saving your life. Seeing more than 10 puppet sect disciples being easily killed by Yang Feng, the 6 Xuantian sect disciples were shocked, and immediately thanked them loudly with respectful faces. We are all fellow apprentices, so don't be so polite. Yang Feng responded casually, and with a big wave of his hand, strong winds condensed, rolled up the interspatial rings of more than 10 puppet sect disciples, and put them into his arms. Afterwards, as soon as Yang Feng's body moved, it turned into a streamer and flew away into the distance. Chapter 27 Killing the Ice God Palace Disciple. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Boom, boom, boom. Along with a series of violent roars, they resounded in the lush forest. A huge signal flare bloomed in the sky, and people in a radius of dozens of miles could clearly see it. This is the signal flare from the Ice God Palace. Yang Feng, who was flying at low altitude and looking for the blood spirit grass, saw a huge signal flare more than 20 miles away. His eyes flashed, and he muttered softly. After muttering, Yang Feng moved his body, turned into a streamer, and galloped towards the place where the signal flare was. Generally speaking, people who enter the blood spirit secret realm will not approach the area where the signal flares are located when they see the signal flares of other sections. After all, other sects are recruiting people, and I am an outsider to join in the fun, isn't it just looking for trouble? If one is not good, it may be surrounded and killed by disciples of other sects. However, young Feng is not an ordinary person, he is not afraid of the siege of the Ice God Palace disciples. The most important thing is that the female disciple from the Ice God Palace tricked young Feng, which made young Feng very angry and wanted to find her out and kill her. And the female disciple of the Ice God Palace who cheated young Feng is likely to be where the signal flare of the Ice God Palace is. Even if he is not there, young Feng can still obtain the identity information of that female disciple from the mouths of many Ice God Palace disciples, and find it out, soon. Young Feng flew over a distance of more than 20 miles and came to the top of the mountain where the disciples of the Ice God Palace gathered. At this time, more than 200 charming Ice God Palace disciples had gathered in the mountain peak. Among them, the leader is the female disciple of the Ice God Palace who cheated young Feng. Senior brother, congratulations on escaping your life from the claws of the Sixth Order Black Eagle. However, this is the gathering place for our Ice God Palace disciples. Brother is not welcome, please leave here immediately. Seeing young Feng in the sky, a look of surprise flashed in the eyes of the female disciple of the Ice God Palace, and then she drove away loudly with a cold expression. This is not the territory of your Ice God Palace, why can't I stay here? You led the Sixth Order Black Hawk to my side, and I had to waste some whole cards to kill it. Should you give me an explanation and compensation? Young Feng said in a flat tone. You actually went to the place where our Ice God Palace disciples gathered and asked me for an explanation and compensation. I really don't know what's going on in your head. Brothers and sisters, do you think I should give this brother an explanation and compensation? A look of disdain flashed in the eyes of the female disciple of the Ice God Palace, and she said loudly with a mocking look on her face. What kind of explanation can you give him? Just kill him, and it will be over once and for all. My skills are inferior to others, and I still have the face to ask for an explanation and compensation. You are simply a scum. Senior sister, why are you talking nonsense with him? Just kill him directly, isn't that enough? A monk who has just entered the Mana realm dares to come to our Ice God Palace gathering place to make trouble, it is simply courting death. Senior sister, let's go together and kill him. As soon as the female disciple of the Ice God Palace finished speaking, more than 200 disciples of the Ice God Palace on the mountain started shouting loudly, not paying attention to young Feng at all. Since everyone has said so, let's attack together and kill this senior brother of Xuanhuan. Hearing the yelling of the crowd, the female disciple of Ice God Palace's eyes flashed fiercely, and with a soft drink, she urged a top-grade magic weapon long sword, and slashed towards Yang Feng's body at a high speed. Another cultivator at the mana level of the Ice God Palace also mobilized his physical mana, urged a high-grade magic weapon long sword, and stabbed at Yang Feng's body. At the same time, more than a dozen disciples of the Guxiu realm took out a jade talisman from their space rings and threw it at Yang Feng. Immediately afterwards, there were streaks of sharp sword lights shooting out from the jade talismans, and with a sharp edge, they slashed towards Yang Feng's body. Obviously, the disciples of the Ice God Palace wanted to kill Yang Feng to avoid future troubles. Facing the ferocious attack from the disciples of the Ice God Palace, Yang Feng's expression remained unchanged. With a fierce light flashing in his eyes, he swung the Fire Crow sword, cut off the two magic weapon long swords that were attacking him, and took advantage of the situation to slash more than 10 sharp sword lights. Chopped. Immediately afterwards, with a thought in Yang Feng's mind, strands of pure mana came out through his body and poured into the Fire Crow sword, causing it to shine brightly. Go with. Following Yang Feng's soft drink, the Fire Crow formation inside the low-grade treasure Fire Crow sword was activated, and a few feet-long Fire Crows condensed in the void, carrying scorching flames towards the people on the mountain peak. The disciples of the Ice God Palace charged straight at them. Be careful, run. Fire Crow array. This is the treasure Fire Crow sword. It's really shocking how a mere disciple of the Xiantian sect's outer sect would have the treasured weapon, the Fire Crow sword. What a terrifying Fire Crow, run away. Seeing the Fire Crows coming overwhelmingly, exuding a terrifying aura of flames. The expressions of the disciples of the Ice God Palace on the mountain changed drastically. With a cry of surprise, they fled to the distance, not daring to take the Fire Crow's attack head-on. It's just that the movements of the Ice God Palace disciples are too slow. As soon as they moved their bodies, scorching Fire Crows pounced on them, and the scorching flames directly ignited their bodies, turning them into fiery men, screaming one after another, and then burned to ashes, gone with the wind. In a short time, more than half of the more than 200 Ice God Palace disciples were burned by the Fire Crow, leaving only 2 mana-level monks and more than 10 stellar-level warriors with jade charms. Spread away. This man is too ruthless, let's run separately. Remember this person's appearance. If anyone survives, you must report to the sect and destroy this person. Seeing more than 200 disciples from the same sect burnt to ashes, and blocking the attack of the Fire Crow, the faces of the more than 10 Ice God Palace disciples changed drastically, with anger, resentment and panic flashing in their eyes, and they yelled loudly, and fled in all directions. Go. Want to run? There are no doors. Looking at the Ice God Palace disciples running around, Yang Feng snorted coldly, then used the sword control technique, urging the Fire Crow sword to attack more than 10 Ice God Palace disciples. Immediately, the Fire Crow sword turned into a stream of red light, flashing across the void like lightning, and quickly caught up with the female disciple of the Ice God Palace who entrapped Yang Feng. Block me. Sensing the terrifying power contained in the Fire Crow sword, the female disciple of the Ice God Palace showed a look of fear on her face. With a roar, she activated a jade talisman and released a silver-white shield to protect her body. Stand up. Boom. With a crisp sound, the Fire Crow sword shattered the silver-white protective shield, easily piercing through the head of the female disciple of the Ice God Palace, causing blood to splatter and dying tragically on the spot. After that, the Fire Crow sword quickly caught up with the other Ice God Palace disciples with a hot flame breath, easily broke through their protective shields, pierced through their heads, turned them into blood mist, and became headless corpses. So far, all the disciples of the Ice God Palace on the mountain were killed by Yang Feng. At this time, Yang Feng waved his big hand, and condensed strong winds, which rolled up all the space rings on the disciples of the Ice God Palace and sent them to the Dongtian Pearl. Afterwards, Yang Feng turned his gaze to the Grand Canyon on the side of the mountain. Chapter 28 Top Bloodline Talent. You are listening at thousand-fold.Audio. This Grand Canyon is simply a valley of snakes. There are many poisonous snakes living in it. No wonder the disciples of the Ice God Palace will send out signal flares to gather disciples to deal with the poisonous snakes in the valley. Looking at the densely packed poisonous snakes in the Grand Canyon, a look of surprise flashed in Yang Feng's eyes, and he muttered softly. After muttering, Yang Feng soared into the sky and galloped towards the Grand Canyon. During this process, Yang Feng let go of his consciousness and scanned into the Grand Canyon. A lot of blood spirit grass. Among them, there are 13,000-year-old blood spirit grass and hundreds of century-old blood spirit grass. It's so exciting, that when a piece of blood spirit grass entered the range of Yang Feng's consciousness, Yang Feng's eyes lit up, and he sighed with excitement and anticipation on his face. When Yang Feng was feeling emotional, the poisonous snake in the Grand Canyon also found Yang Feng's trace. Among them, some powerful poisonous snakes soared into the air, turned into streamers of light, and rushed straight to Yang Feng's side. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Accompanied by the howls of poisonous snakes, each poisonous snake opened its mouth wide, spit out jet-black venom, and shot towards Yang Feng's body. These venoms contained terrifying toxicity. Just after they appeared in the void, a strong and incomparably fishy smell emanated from them and spread to the surroundings, withering all the vegetation in the canyon. What a terrifying toxicity! Seeing the withered vegetation in the canyon, Yang Feng's face changed slightly, and he couldn't help exclaiming. After an exclamation, Yang Feng mobilized the magic power in his body, poured it into the low-grade treasure in his hand, the Fire Crow sword, activated the Fire Crow array in it, made it shine brightly, and released bright red lights one after another. Immediately afterwards, fire crows, about a foot long, condensed in the void, carrying a scorching flame, pounced on the venom one after another, ignited them in mid-air and burned them into ashes, before passing away with the wind. After that, countless fire crows formed a large formation of hundreds of crows, flashed across the void like lightning, bombarded each poisonous snake and exploded. The terrifying explosive force directly blasted each poisonous snake into pieces, turning them into countless blood fog, falling down the canyon. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 poisonous snakes flying out of the Snake Valley were killed by the fire crows released by the fire crow's sword. At this time, with a thought in Yang Feng's mind, the fire crow's sword in his hand swung out, and streams of hot flames shot out from it, condensing into a foot-long fire crow in the void, and bombarded towards the canyon. Boom, boom, boom. Amidst the violent explosions, the poisonous snakes near the blood spirit grass were killed by the fire crow and turned into pieces of fly ash. After cleaning up the poisonous snakes near the blood spirit grass, Yang Feng flew down into the canyon and quickly picked the blood spirit grass in the canyon. Soon, Yang Feng picked all the blood spirit grass in the canyon, and obtained a total of 13,000-year-old blood spirit grass, 563-century-old blood spirit grass, and more than 3,000 blood spirit grass less than a century old. With so many blood spirit grasses, I should be able to raise my blood talent to the top. Glancing at the thousands of blood spirit grasses in the space ring, Yang Feng whispered to himself with a look of anticipation on his face. After muttering to himself, Yang Feng soared into the sky and galloped out of the canyon. Not long after, Yang Feng flew into a hidden valley, and activated the fire crow's sword on the mountain wall on one side of the valley to open up a temporary cave that was 3 feet high, 5 feet wide, and more than 10 feet deep. A set of arrays is arranged at the entrance to prevent outsiders from breaking in. After finishing all this, Yang Feng took out 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass from the interspatial ring, swallowed it and refined it. As the millennium blood spirit grass entered his stomach, streams of mysterious energy were released from it, penetrating into Yang Feng's flesh and blood cells, prompting the evolution of Yang Feng's flesh and blood cells, and enhancing his blood talent. When the mysterious energy of the millennium blood spirit grass was completely absorbed by Yang Feng's flesh and blood cells, Yang Feng was surprised to find that his blood talent had improved a lot, and he was much closer to the top blood talent. Seeing this scene, without the slightest hesitation, Yang Feng immediately took out 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass from the space ring, and continued to swallow and refine it. After Yang Feng swallowed and refined 8,000-year-old blood spirit grasses in a row, the blood talent in his body was upgraded from high level to top level, and mysterious flame inheritance information was activated from his genetic memory and imprinted in Yang Feng's mind. This improved Yang Feng's understanding of flames a lot, and also increased his body's affinity for flames, more than doubling the speed of practicing fire attribute skills. Finally, the talent of the flame bloodline has been raised to the top level, and the next step is to raise the talent of the bloodline to the immortal level. Feeling the changes in his body, and feeling the countless new flames in the sea of consciousness, Yang Feng's eyes flashed with excitement, and he whispered to himself. Afterwards, without the slightest hesitation, Yang Feng immediately took out the millennium blood spirit grass from the interspatial ring, and continued to swallow and refine it. Soon, Yang Feng swallowed and refined the remaining 5 millennium blood spirit grass. It's just that the gap between the top level bloodline talent and the fairy level bloodline talent is too big. To upgrade the top bloodline talent to the immortal level bloodline talent, too much mysterious energy is needed. The mysterious energy provided by the 5,000-year-old blood spirit grasses only strengthened Yang Feng's top level bloodline talent a lot, and he was still far from being promoted to the immortal level bloodline talent. If there is a distance to express, Yang Feng has only walked % of the distance from the top bloodline talent to the fairy level bloodline talent. In other words, if Yang Feng wants to raise his blood talent to the immortal level, he still needs nearly 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass. The millennium blood spirit grass was gone. Yang Feng did not stop, but took out a 600-year-old blood spirit grass from the space ring, swallowed it and refined it. However, to Yang Juanqing's surprise, although the 600-year-old blood spirit grass provided Yang Feng with a lot of mysterious energy and strengthened Yang Feng's flesh and blood cells a lot, it did not improve his blood talent by a bit. Seeing this scene, Yang Feng frowned slightly, and immediately took out a 500-year-old blood spirit grass from the space ring, swallowed it and refined it, and quietly felt the changes in his body. The century-old blood spirit grass can no longer evolve my bloodline. If I want my bloodline to continue to evolve, I must take blood spirit grass that is above the millennium level. When the 500-year-old blood spirit grass in his body was completely refined, Yang Feng said helplessly to himself. After muttering to himself, Yang Feng stood up, left the cave, put away the formation disc, soared into the sky, and galloped towards the depths of the mountains. There are not many other things in the blood spirit secret realm, but there are many blood spirit grasses, not to mention other places. In the depths of the mountains where Yang Feng is located, there are countless blood spirit grasses that have been around for thousands of years. As long as Yang Feng uses dim sum, he can pick, 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass, and raise his blood talent to the immortal level.